Don't know what's happened, mate.
There we go.
There we go.
Sorry, I don't know what happened there. Can you can see this?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, we are recording it as well, mate. Sorry.
No worries, that's all right. So yeah, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So I was asked we did it on the pro license, 22 people, loads of people stood up. Hard work beats talent, and talent doesn't work hard is one I remember.
We now can't see your slides. I don't know. We've gone black screen. There we go.
Right.
We're good.
Can you see that?
Yep, that's it.
And can you see it now?
We can.
There you go. Perfect.
Yes.
So yeah, was loads of different quotes about hard work and hard work pays you back and all this stuff, and about tactics, some about winning, and one of them was just win. That was his leadership philosophy, just win. So I sort of asked him to explain that, and he's like, well, as a manager, you need to win or you're sacked. And I was like, well, surely it needs to be a little bit more than just win, because if it's just win all the time, and then if you don't win, what are you basing it off? Like, what do you then do? And if you don't win in 3 games, then the leadership philosophy is just to win. Like, what does that even mean? So we had a massive debate, and then I said this, and then I see a few of the older coaching people in the room, leaders, look at me as if I was a lunatic. And I said, well, when I played with someone who I felt didn't care one bit about me or one bit about the group, and only for himself, then I found it difficult. I had to find a way myself to really produce and perform for that person. And the best few years in my career I had 5 promotions in my career, 2 relegations, but 3 of them years were amazing because I really bought into the leader. Felt like he really cared about us, and we just had amazing momentum and energy because of him and his clear vision. And probably the only time I felt that in my career. So we had really good people, really good purpose and energy from the leader, and clarity in that. The process was pretty flawed because it would change a lot, and again was a bit emotional, but because of him and his energy and how much he cared, and he was early on in his career at that point, we just really flew, and it was amazing. So for me, this is really what it comes down to, about caring in an environment where, in a game where you're probably 3 or 4 games away from the sack all the time, but to try and create that environment about people understand that I care about them and what they do and how they develop. And then when I break it down to the Simon Sinek stuff, really about, start with why, the why, how, and what. For me, it means the why is the purpose, the agreed vision of us. So when I took the job, I needed to agree the vision with the owners of the club. And then I need to agree the vision with the players when I first came in. Then the how is like working out the people in the building, the environment and the culture, about what they bring, how to utilize them effectively, how to make them understand what we want from them, how to convince them it's the right thing for them and for us. And then it comes down to the consistent action after that, the process in a game that lacks consistency in any shape or form, really, in terms of one week, the supporters, how they feel about the team because you've won or performed brilliantly, and then maybe you lose but still perform brilliantly. The whole feeling changes. The owners the same, the people around the place. So we inherited a culture here where for 4.5 years people are sort of self-preservation, really, looking after themselves, no real idea of family or growth or looking after each other. Felt really difficult after relegation from the Premier League. I kind of expected a little bit of that, but was really surprised by the size of that. The players got dressed in 2 different dressing rooms, one group for predominantly British guys and the other one for mainly foreign players. No unity at all. So really lacking in the environment and culture, but really lacking in like any form of process. 3 different managers, all completely different personalities, different beliefs on the game. So it was our job to bring real clarity in all 3. So the vision, the environment and culture, to behave how we're going to behave. I was really fortunate. I brought 6 people with me who could influence that culture straight away, and the environment we're going to be in, because we all behave in a certain way consistently. We're all very different, but the message is very same. It's all about the people in the building. We're going to treat you properly, regardless of results. We'll treat you in the same way, with honesty and trust. And I choose to trust people first, always. Some people end up breaking that, but it's how I prefer to do it, rather than come in a little bit cynical and make people earn trust. It's difficult that way. And we have a really clear process on things, which I'll talk about in a moment, which hasn't changed from day one of my first job as a manager at MK Dons. I went in and said, this is what we need to clarify. And the first day in my job with MK Dons, I became from a player to the manager the next day. So obviously it's very difficult or different because the players have been used to seeing me in their dressing room, having a laugh and joke with them. And then all of a sudden I'm their manager, and it changed the dynamic straight away. But we went through this straight away. I said, listen, we need to agree on what we're going to do. And for us, it was about getting out of the relegation zone when I took over, but doing it in a certain way to build a certain style of play that everyone enjoyed. And then I said, you're all good people. I've been in the dressing room with you. Like, I'm really fortunate that I know you and understand you a bit, and I know how good a group you are. So this will be only an advantage for us. And then brought in a really clear process, and that stayed the same at every club. So we went into Swansea. The purpose was very different. The vision was very different to Southampton and MK Dons, because every business or organisation is going to be different to a degree. And at Swansea, it was about developing young talent to earn money for the football club, to do things in what they called the Swansea way, which is to try and dominate games with possession, which is what they've been really successful for over the years. And they lost their way a little bit. So the vision there was different, but the environment and culture and the process really the same, because we really focus on the people and the process. And when you have strong purpose and you focus on the people and the process, is really, I think, really easy to then gain some form of success. So like the agreed vision here and having clarity in it with the players, they came up with this with us as a group of coaching staff within the first week.
Sorry, mate, I don't think your slides are moving along now. I think if you move through some.
I've moved through two. I don't know why it's not moved. Sorry.
That's
Can you see? Can you see them?
We can still see. People don't care how much you know until they know.
Okay, right. That's not moved on. I don't know why. This one.
It's an important message, but we can see it now. Yeah.
So yeah, I've just spoke through this one, and now can you see this one? The agreed vision.
No, you need to click again now, I think.
No, I have to come out every month and then do it. There you go.
Got it now. Yeah.
So this is the agreed vision we have at Southampton as a team. So not a club. It's really, Chief Exec said recently, I said, we need to get all the new club values plastered over the wall. And I said, okay, that's nice, but what are they? And he's at the stadium with all the commercial team and marketing team, and talks about, I think, innovation, great, respect, great. What does it mean? What does it mean for my players and us? Because you want to plaster it over the walls we work in every day, but they're not our values. They're club values. So we're a team within that, and you can have that at the stadium. We will explain this to the players why you have it, and great. But they're not ours, so they won't mean anything to us. And like every club I've been at, there's all this stuff on the wall, which looks amazing. They don't really live by any of it. So we sort of changed everything really, and I'll talk about that in a sec. But the vision for us is really clear. It's to do everything we need to do with relentless intensity and consistency to be the best team in the league. So all I ask for the players whenever we're training is presence, and to give everything they've got. So all I can ever ask for is that they give their all. I don't think I can ask for anything else after that. People talk to me all the time about non-negotiables. I just don't like the language, because I think everything's negotiable, whether depending on someone's situation. I think, again, the only thing I ask for is for authenticity and presence. The rest is like so difficult. I have this argument with Jake Humphries, a friend of mine who does the High Performance podcast, and maybe some people listen to that, the 3 non-negotiables, and I think they change. I think they change depending on the group. I think it's always negotiable. I think there's the word like world-class habits is really, I just don't like the language, because when I look back at like my mum, going back all those years, and the family we had, the dysfunction, the lack of money, she was really high performing, incredible woman, so strong, but none of her habits would be deemed as world-class basics really. But so like, I think language is really important. So when we talk about it and the lads were like, we need to be relentless, what does that mean? For them, it's like every day certain running stats need to be hit. They hold each other accountable when people drop off. Intensity for them means aggression really, but they didn't want that in there in case it overboiled and they became too aggressive. But aggressive with the ball, without the ball in their running, and consistently do it. So They run the most out of possession in the whole league. They have the highest sprint distance in the whole league, the highest height. So stuff for them. And in the meeting room, in the video room, to be really relentless and consistent with the process that we have to be the best team, because we need to get promoted to the Premier League, or I probably won't be in a job for very long. So I don't share Matt's confidence or conviction that I'm going to be a Premier League manager, and it's that fear that drives me all the time. I've moved slide. Have you seen that?
No.
Right, here we go. We'll go back out and go back in.
Yeah, now there we go.
You see it now. There you go. So what's important to the people in our environment after we agreed the vision that drives the culture, really, like how we're going to behave and why. So the lads came up with these. I was really surprised by a couple of them. We've done it at every club we've been at, and they've all been really different. So at MK Dons, they wanted legacy in there, because MK Dons is not an old club, not a huge amount of history or tradition. They wanted legacy in there, to be known as the team that sort of put MK Dons on the map, and we were on our way to doing that, I felt, before we left and got approached by Swansea. We built a really strong team, culture, young players, earned the chairman a lot of money, doing things in a certain way that was attracting a lot of attention for the players. And so that was in there for them. And now we're a club where they put freedom in there, which I found so interesting as a value, because they felt for 3-4 years, some of them that have been there that long, they had none anymore. They had no freedom to be themselves, to express themselves on the pitch. They felt they'd become a bit robotic with each other, with themselves, not willing to be vulnerable, lacked emotion. So the freedom bit was really interesting, because when they started talking about it, a couple of the guys in the group, the rest were like, oh yeah, that's how I feel. So they wanted that in there, and the freedom on the pitch within a structure to be able to make mistakes, to be vulnerable, to try and do certain things, which I found really incredible. So they put that in. Family, they want to become more of a family and look after each other. We had a really tricky period this year of 4 games. We lost, and 2 of them quite heavily, where they just attacked each other at half time and full time in the dressing room, which was so interesting for me, just to take a step back and then bring this up to them and say, you wanted to look after each other as a family. This is not how it's not how family treat each other. That was you guys, not me. That was you guys decided you want to do that. So let's talk about it properly. And we did, and we had some amazing discussions on the back of it. And after that, we've not lost in 11 games since. And we always go back to these values, like, are you playing with freedom there? Are you looking after each other there as families should? Are you being honest with each other about things? They want to have success. They put it in as a value. I'm not sure I would, but they have. And they want to get back to the Premier League. So they've been really hurt, the guys who are already here, that got relegated. And the guys who have joined want to be here to get to the Premier League. So they put that in. And then the enjoyment bit, which I was really pleased with, because we're in a career and an environment where, in a business where it completely gets lost, because the amount of pressure people have put on them from a young age to win, to be the person in their family, to look after their family. A lot of working class guys that have then become very financially stable and well off is really difficult burden to carry sometimes for them with their families. So the joy gets sucked out of them from the age of 6 or 7 when they enter a pro club, and a coach takes a piece away from them every year with their ego and having to win. And a coach is in a rush to build his career, not focus on the player as a young person, not worried too much about developing. So every year the pressure of earning a new contract, by the time they get 18, 19, so many of them I don't like using the word broken, but so many of them are just not themselves and lack a sense of self. So then when they get to the end of their career and they're 35, 34, if you're lucky enough to last that long, all of a sudden the rates of divorce, gambling, addiction are huge. And it's because of this, I think. It's the lack of identity they have when we finish. So I talk to the guys all the time about not allowing results and not allowing my decision, because it's my decision if they're in the team or not. Sometimes they can't do any more. They train so hard, they eat well, they sleep well, they're in the gym, they're doing all this stuff, and I still don't pick them in the team. It's the hardest part of my job, is to drop 11 people from their job every week. So to then not let that affect their family and their kids and how they go home and treat their partner, and like, you are not defined by that. And we have this chat a lot with the players, and it's trying to get them to understand that, to actually take joy from the tough moments and being there together, and still finding joy outside of that is really difficult for them sometimes. So we're really big on that first, the amount of conversations we have. So I've taken in a new coach recently, Colin Calderwood. He worked at Northampton. Matt knows him. A great guy, like amazing human being. He's 58 now. I worked with him 10 years ago at Norwich, moaned relentlessly at him, and we stayed in touch. He was the assistant manager, I was the captain. And I've wanted to work with him for a few years, and I haven't been quite able to get him. But I want him in for me, really, to have conversation, because he's been a leader, he's been an assistant manager, he's been a manager, he's been a sporting director. So for him to say to me, that was good, that wasn't very good, think about that, I like this. But he's been shocked by the amount of conversation we have with the players, one-to-one, small groups, unit meetings, individual meetings. He's been taken back by it, and he thought maybe it was too much for the players. But actually, after a 3 or 4 week series, like, actually, this is how it should be, because of the way you guys choose to lead. And we bring everything back to these values all the time, because it's important. And then when we're talking about, you see that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we're talking about, like, we're in a job where we have to win, but I want to win whilst trying to develop people and players, because I think the way we try and play is really is not easy. It's not traditionally like British style or synonymous with being a British coach. I don't think it's like rolling your sleeves up and fighting. And we're trying to do something that I believe every kid dreams of playing when they're young, and it slowly, as the fear creeps in, and it stops, so they end up doing something else and just surviving. I think we're trying to do something where they're going to thrive and be the best version of themselves. I really believe that. And so when we're coaching a session, when we're planning a session, when we're talking about what coach is going to take care of this player individually, with their extras on the training pitch, with their individual analysis, it all comes back to these things like connection with the player, connecting them to us as a group of staff, connecting them to the purpose and the vision of the team, connecting them to their role in the team, making them understand. So the whole thing is built on connection, because and then it's my job to connect the supporters with that through the way I talk with the media, to connect the owners with the players and myself to understand. So about building connection all the time. And by doing that is clarity in our work, in their role, what we expectation. So like when we came in, we were told, this guy, he's a wrong, and he's always late all the time. So, okay, why is he late? Well, they got fined £1,000. He said it doesn't matter. He would just pay £1,000. He was late. There was no real clarity or connection or consistency in their approach, like 3 different managers. So we came in, and on the day one, I said, listen, I understand there's been a problem with lateness. I'm not going to fine you. I don't want to take your money. No, it doesn't matter to me. You lose a bit of money. I don't know where it's going to go. So, but what we are going to do is, if you are late, everyone's going to run. So you're going to run in 30 seconds to one end of the pitch, around the pole at the other end, and back. And it's going to be set up at the start of the session. So if you are late, every day that is going to be set up in case you're late, and you'll run. So the pole's always there. The first day they were late, the same guy that was told he was late, that everyone ran. And the point is, like, if you are late on the pitch to press, you're all going to run. If you don't want the ball on the pitch, you're all going to run. You're all responsible for each other. So the second day, they were late again, 2 runs. Third day, late again, 3 runs. And then the captain pulled them in and said, listen, I'm not running anymore. If you are late, there's going to be a big problem. And they haven't been late since, not once. And that's not through, like, it's not a punishment. It's about them feeling responsible for the rest of their team. Of course, they don't want to run, but they don't want to be the person to let their team down as well. So clarity with that really early on, the communication, how we communicate that, consistency in everything we do, the way we behave. So if you came in on a Monday, I'm hopeful you wouldn't have a clue what the score was. When we lost 4 in a row, we were exactly the same with the players and the staff, because it's really important that. So even if you are feeling like the assistant manager felt a bit of pressure at that moment, wanted to change a little bit, we had a real big chat about it as a group of staff, and stayed on track, consistent with the process, consistent with what we really believed in, after a lot of chat as well, a lot of fear and doubt. But I said to the guys, like, it's got us here at Southampton in 4 years. We haven't won a league. We haven't won a title. We finished mid-table. Our best position is 10th. But we are here because we stayed really brave, and we've been really consistent with process and a lot of care for the players. And a lot of the players at Swansea got us this job because of the way they spoke about us in the media and all that stuff. So all of that, but always adding competition in the way we analyse the game. So with the midfielders is about how many opponents they can take out the game receiving the ball. So that's done through data. Competition in training every day. There's always something on it. So if the losing team will run, if you go down by a certain amount of goals, you will run. It's not a punishment. It's just we have to be competitive. Like it's about developing you, but also we need to win, because otherwise we can't carry on our journey together. So always adding competition in that is probably the only element really that over a period of time we've had to add in, because when we've enjoyed it and the guys play in this way and we treat them with so much care, sometimes they miss like an edge on the pitch, is my experience in the last 2 to 4 years. So to add competition or some form of it every day, because that's what we're going to do every week. We have 3 games next week, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday. We're going to have to compete and fight and win, but we're going to treat them in the same way on the outside of that. So adding competition has been really important for us. And then like the development pathway for people. So you can see that, yeah?
Yeah.
So in football, they had this thing about when we went into a club, it was like, we got this player, he's the star player, these are the 5 best players, the rest is like, and it was like, well, hold on a minute, how do we get them all to try and be an asset? So when an owner talks about an asset, it is like the top player and the player who they can at any point sell for quite a lot of money. So I said, surely our job is to make everyone assets. The guys over 30, there's not much value placed in them in football anymore, because they can't become assets, because people won't sign them for money if they're over 30, because they're close to the end of their career. Injury rates increase. So, but they have a huge part to play for us. At MK Dons, I signed 3 players over 30 who I'd played with. Richard Keogh, 34, Andrew Servan, 35, and Cameron Jerome, 34. And through the spine of the team and the amount they helped the young lads around, we had the youngest team, even with the old gits in it, the amount they helped the young guys off the pitch, on the pitch, to help them, to look after them, to talk to them, was incredible. And at MK Dons, we sold a huge amount of young talent to keep the club going through COVID in particular. So cultural architects, the experience people possess, they are good people. They've been there, they've lived it. They are so important. Is why I bought Colin Coldwood now, because he's lived the job I'm doing for the last 20 years. So for me, he's a cultural architect. He's going to help me so much. And we have a couple of players, and I had players at Swansea that I played with at previous clubs. I went in, they realised I'm still the same person. I haven't changed too much, and they become huge drivers for us. Carl Norton was incredible. Corey Smith in the first year, amazing. And they help the others become assets. Then you have the established players that have been in there for a long time, who are just surviving a bit at the level. Can we then turn them into assets? And then the 2 below that. So it's like a development pathway. I don't know in your schools what that would look like. I don't know. Maybe it's the very bottom is the year 7s, or the kids are really struggling into school. How can you then make them into that year 11 at the end that is a real key driver for your school in terms of the way they look after other students, the way they behave, the way they interact with teachers. So I don't know what the brackets would fall into, but we worked out this is what we're going to call them, because it can't just be here's the best ones and then here's the rest. Like it's not conducive to any development at all. So our job is to get the future players. So we have 4 17-year-olds training with us every day now, because they're amazingly talented. And our job is to help them become a potential asset for the club, to then establish them in the team, to then make them an asset, but the assets to also be cultural architects all the time, and then to fall in them top 2 groups, every single player we have, as much as we can. So for us, this was the pathway we decided to embark on, and we've actually taken it in here, and the club's really actually embraced it and gone, yeah, we like this. So this wasn't a club thing. This was us as a group of staff to say, we don't like that. These are the ones, the best ones. These are the rest. We need to have a pathway where we can put everyone in the top 2 brackets at some point. So that was really important for us to establish that. And then the working process, so people, then process, the purpose was really clear. So however we are doing, win, losing or drawing, we always come back to this. We analyse what we do as coaches, analyse what the team is doing, analyse training, analyse matches. What can we learn from it individually, as a unit, as a team? So we will, on a Monday after a game, we'll analyse as a team. The game, then the set pieces after training, that's as a team. The next day is always unit. So we'll break it down into 4 or 5 minute video. The lads will be really interactive in that, ask a lot of questions, get a lot of feedback from them to try and learn. as a unit, and then as an individual. We'll then do individual clips. So I take the defenders and the holding midfielders, the assistant manager takes the attackers, and then the transition coach will take the young players for their clips if they've come off the bench or they're playing for the 21s. So we always learn, and then we'll practice properly. It's really, my career was spent Monday to Friday, like ticking over really, never preparing me for what was to come on a Saturday, maybe an hour on a Friday, a bit tactical. The rest was like small-sided games, no real purpose to anything, or that was relevant to improve me or help me on a Saturday. I found from my career, 18 to 35, I played in positions I never played in as a kid. So I had to learn them myself and coach myself. And I was really fortunate. I had some older players to play against in training and to work with who had been there and done it. But I never practiced properly. So we try and put them in a position of Monday to Friday where they make a lot of mistakes, to make it as tough as possible, to be vulnerable together, to try and learn together. And so Saturdays should be the time where they feel like it's just intuition and is the easiest time, because then they have to go and perform, and then we'll analyze again. So it's always for us the same process. And then like when we're talking about the game model, what does it look like? The language we use to eventually win, what becomes really important after the layers. So as a team, the values at the bottom. As a team, what we talk about a lot, the structure, territory, where we are on a pitch, the detail with the ball, in possession, the connection in the team, in distances, then refining that into build up and ball speed in the unit meetings, positional discipline. So all the language we use to win, but whatever games we play are analysed on them two things always. Because when we don't have the courage, none of this matters. When we don't have the courage to play and be the team we want to be wherever we go, and then the intensity to do it, the aggression to go and produce it and to play. So this language is on the wall for the players. It's put on the TV in the dressing room all the time, on their clips, with the language at the bottom, just like subliminal messages, I guess, but to make them understand what is important to us all the time, for us to win and win in our way and play the game on our terms. And then, like in the leadership, of course, there's negatives to everything. I love my job, but I work with brilliant people. I get to experience so many amazing highs and give stick to some Cardiff fans on Saturday when we win, because they give me a beautiful game. It's a nice, like these moments are good. I get to travel. I get to win and celebrate success with people I love, which is amazing. Winning makes a lot of people happy in Swansea. The whole city, the mood would change when we were on a good run. It really would. I would feel it. The people walking your dog and the enthusiasm and positivity you get. The same at Southampton now. It makes a lot of people happy to go away on a weekend happy for the next few days. I get to develop players and get to develop them as people, as staff included, to try and empower them and give them as many opportunities to lead and to drive things as possible. But then, like, there's also, as a leader, it's a lonely job a lot. So lots of time away from my kids, my family, 2 or 3 nights a week, very often. And then Sunday, I'd decide, like, I don't use my phone. So my boss the other day said, "Oh, you didn't get back to me." I said, "Yeah, I don't go on my phone on a Sunday, because I want to watch my boys play football. I want to watch my daughter play football. I have lots of time away from them anyway, but it's the one day really I can be fully present with them. It's not enough, but it's like a so that's my dog on the doors. Matt, stay there too. Sorry, guys.
We've all been there. Dog needs to go out, the dog needs to come in. Hoping, just to fill this bit, I'm hoping you're able to sort of see some crossovers with your roles as well. So I don't think, you know, we can make it hugely relevant to lots of our thinking as leaders in our areas as well, for sure. Just be thinking as well about any questions you might have, because there will be a chance for you to come forward and ask me some questions if you want to.
My wife has parcels sent all the time. Sorry. So yeah, sorry. That was a break from my boring voice anyway. But yeah, so all of that is amazing, but it always comes like with stuff that's difficult. So like 18 managers sacked in the Championship last year in the division I managed in. So 6 of us survived. I was the 4th longest serving manager in the league with 18 months, which was crazy. Dealing with expectation now. So teams expect us to, the supporters, being a Premier League team last year, expect us to win every week 4-0. Then the criticism on social media, which I don't really pay much attention to because I'm not on it, but the players really do. The players all go on and search their name, whether they like to be honest about it or not. So trying to always have an awareness of that and the message on social media and what it is, and trying to protect my players and staff from that. The responsibility for the coaching staff and families is huge. So I have 6 people with me, with their kids, with the family that have moved with them. That extends to 24 people. Is a lot, including mine. So is a lot of responsibility because they've all come for me and with me because they believe in what we're doing, and we're on our journey together as a coach and staff. So carrying the responsibility of that is hard. Leaving Swansea and making them all move again, albeit they all wanted to take the opportunity. I was probably the one who was the most reluctant at the time because of the feeling I had for the players at Swansea and the staff, but it was the right move for us in terms of progression. Losing makes a lot of people unhappy. Everyone has an opinion on it as well. And in dealing with the losses and disappointment and not trying to let it affect the rest of your life, which is really difficult. I find much easier now as a leader than I did as a player. So there's, and sorry, at the bottom there I've put leadership always comes at a cost. And I struggled to accept this at the first 2 years at MK. The cost at MK was having to deal with my owner, who was an amazing guy, and I'll be forever grateful to him for the opportunity. But the emotion he felt after games would affect me for a day or two after, because he would go crazy. And then he would always caveat with it, well, you're trying really hard, so carry on. But it didn't make me feel any better a lot of the time. So then trying to navigate away through that, the cost at Swansea was that I had American owners, and 5 of them, and they all wanted to talk separately. So 5 or 6 hours of my week on a Zoom at 10 o'clock at night, often because of the time difference, and getting to a point where actually after 18 months, I didn't really want to accept that anymore. So if we're going to do it, we're going to do it at these times, or we're not. And I wish I'd done that a bit earlier, really. It would have made things a lot easier for me and come at less of a cost to my family life, for sure. But acceptance that at some point there is a cost you have to pay to do the job that you want to do and lead and be there for people and take responsibility on and take people's problems on and try and help them, is the energy it takes. So like when I look back now, the team is always affected by my energy. And whatever job you're in, if you're really honest with yourself as a leader or a teacher, you're taking a class, it is affected by your energy. Your energy will dictate so much of that. And when you evaluate, I evaluate a session or analyze it, and it wasn't quite right, the first thing I look at now, whereas before my first year, well, that player didn't do this, but it's always on you. The responsibility is always on you. If they're not doing something that you want them to do, is your job. You have to look at yourself first. I think you have to accept that rather than looking outward and always. And then if you go, actually, my energy was good, I felt like I got these points in, then maybe there is another problem. Maybe the player's not in the right frame of mind. Why is that? Let's go and have a chat. And that's why I talk about everything's negotiable all the time, because these guys have a lot to deal with, a lot in their lives, a lot of issues. So some days, if they're not quite there in terms of working really hard, like that is negotiable. Because actually last night, Gaffer, I didn't sleep because the baby was up for 5 hours, is poorly. My wife's struggling. She's feeling a bit depressed since she's had the baby. Like everything is negotiable all the time. So let's have a chat about that. But always first, look at myself. And then I won't bore you with these videos, but this was just, guys, this helped me get the job because the way the players spoke about us, about at Swansea. So I'll probably just play one, actually, if that's all right. It's Big Ben, because when I came in, the guy on the right, number 5, I was told he can't play football. He's never going to play for you. We need to sell him. He's a brilliant player. He's done great. He's a beast. He's a warrior, but he cannot. There's no artist in him. So we always talk about warrior and artist when we're talking about players. What are they first? If we had to give them free, like warrior artists, what would you give them on a score? And Ben had no artistry in him from any of the coaches that were already there. And by the time we left, he did amazing things with the football because he was so brave and so willing to be vulnerable.
Adjustments to your game. What about his man management style? How's that been for you?
Yeah, it's really good. Obviously, when he first came in, I had a little period of being out the squad, but he kept talking to me, he kept telling me what I needed to do to improve and get back into the squad. And I've taken that fully on board, and now I'm just trying to work hard every day and yeah, just keep working hard on the little things I think I need to improve on, and just keep pushing hard.
He seems very calm when he's in here, and the clips we've seen of him recently in the dressing room is very calm. Is he always like that?
Yeah, he is calm. He's just open, and the way he talks is he's so open about everything, and just honest as well, which always helps. When a manager's honest, you know what he wants, and you know what you need to do to improve and get into the squad.
The club need to keep him here, don't they?
Yeah, I fully believe so. I think another season with him, another pre-season working on the little things we need to, we can go places.
So the only lie he told there was that I'm calm all the time, because I'm not. But I try to be for the players a lot. But Ben was so interesting, because I spoke to him and he didn't play for me for the first 3 months. And I said, listen, you are going to get there, but we need a lot of work, and you need to be ready to work every day, extra on the training pitch. You're going to make a lot of mistakes, mate. You're going to have a lot of people telling you can't do this, but you can, and I'll help you. And when you make mistakes, I will 100% is on me, not on you, because you're being asked to do something so different. You've been put in a box like this is going to be you for the next 15 years. You're going to head it, you're going to kick, you're going to be a warrior, but you can't play football. I said, it's not enough. You want to captain your country, you want to play for Wales. By the end, we got him in the Wales squad. He was in the World Cup squad. He's an amazing, amazing boy. I'm still in touch with him now. I'm still in touch with all these guys on there, which the opposition, with the manager that replaced me, who's just gone, actually really couldn't understand. I got a phone call from him saying, stop speaking to my players, you're trying to poach him. I said, no, I'm not taking any of them. We have a really good relationship. So they asked me for a bit of advice, I will give it to them. And not one part of me saying, don't listen to the manager. I'm saying you have to listen to the managers. He's asking you to do something different now, but without losing yourself and without losing the courage you've built over the last 2 years, because it's just been incredible to watch. And we had a leaving party with the staff at Swansea when we knew we were going. I cried my eyes out when we left. I walked around the Gower Coast, cried for about 2 hours. Anyone who walked past me thought I was a complete weirdo. The dog was loving it. And then we went to this leaving party and turned up, and every single player was there. And it was just like the most incredible things. We'd had 2 years of the first year so tough, so many mistakes, so much criticism. And then by the end, we had 10 games unbeaten. We nearly got in the playoffs. They finished 10th. The budget was about 20th in the league, so we well exceeded that. And the football they played, I just watched with pride and gratitude. And we had some amazing moments together, some really incredible moments. And for them to all turn up, and then to have the relationship still with them now is the most important bit. I really believe that. And like when my old PE teacher came to my game on Saturday, he's a Cardiff fan, he's from Wales, unfortunately for him. But to have him in the manager's lounge after, to give him a cuddle, I've stayed in touch with that guy because of what he did for me, because he understood the household I grew up in. He taught my brothers as well, so he knew a bit of background, and he was always there for me, and I'm still in touch with him now. So that guy, the teacher, the impact he had on my life, the impact, I've got a foundation back here. My old teacher is the chief exec of that foundation. We stayed in touch the whole time because the impact he had on me. I just think like we're in a beautiful position as leaders, as teachers, as coaches, because it's the same thing. It really is the same thing. We have such a opportunity to build relationships that go beyond just the teaching, to help people, to help support them, to watch them grow, for them to give you so much back as well. It's like I see that as the biggest privilege I've got as a leader. That's just something else someone played. So then, just the last slide, I promise. The key takeaways from the last 4 years for me: always keep learning. Never think you've cracked it. There's always something else out there to adapt, to flex. Mine have been fortunate. I've been able to carry on talking for these organisations, to go in and listen to talks, to carry on the learning process for me, but also the people that I meet in these conversations. I have a lot of debate, a lot of argument, because I'm really divisive in the football world. People don't know me, well, they dislike me because I have a lot of conviction. And when you have a lot of conviction in something and people don't agree with that, is a problem for people. And that can be in anything: politics, the teaching, the syllabus you're teaching, whatever it is. It can be really difficult to keep learning, to keep growing, to keep trying without losing what you're about and having conviction in it. The self-awareness of the leader is so important. I've worked with managers who had none. I've worked with leaders who had none, and I've worked with some who had amazing self-awareness, who knew what their weaknesses were and had people to help them fill them weaknesses. They knew their strengths and they would play to them unbelievably well. Like, I know one of my strengths is communication. I know one of my weaknesses is over communication with the players, because I enjoy it so much, the interaction, and also being a weakness is being too honest with them at certain times when maybe the conversation can wait. So a strength of mine is I'll hit things head on, but it's also a big weakness. I don't really let things go for a few days and maybe let's see how we can. I just go straight to it, because short-term pain for me to have that conversation is always better than the long-term pain. But I'm really aware some of my biggest strengths can be my biggest weaknesses. I feel things a lot. So when the players, they know that sometimes, and the burden they carry of that, of what I'm feeling sometimes, is heavy for them. So clear vision, I've gone big from the off. I've gone like, what's the utopia for me? How do I get there? What can I flex on to get there? But I've just gone for it, and it's led to me being here, and not compromising on it, although being flexible within it. Be patient and don't be in a rush. I think I've left 2 clubs after 2 years because of the opportunity we had, and I felt like we earned it and we had to take it. But I've never been in a rush. I've led at both clubs as if I'm going to be there for 10 years. Focus on the young guys, the young coaches, try and help them, and say to them, don't be in a rush. In our environment, I don't know what it's like in schools, but the under-11s coach wants to be the under-12s coach. The under-12s coach wants to be the under-16s coach. The under-16s coach wants to be the under-21s coach. The under-21s coach wants to be in the first team. It's the same I've always seen in football, because there's not enough value from clubs placed in these people. They don't pay them enough money, so they want to work up the ladder quickly. The best club, the most well-run club at the moment, in my opinion, is Brighton. I live here. Amazing what they've done with the young players, the way they recruit, but they also recognise the staff development, continuous development all the time. They have a fund. You want to learn, you want to do that? Yeah, go for it. Make people feel really valued as a leader, and make sure they're not in a rush. Help them get to where they want to get to, because if they get there too quickly, it never lasts very long. Be honest always with yourself. Spoke about that when you're analysing things and other people. Honesty is always best as a leader, otherwise you end up tying yourself in knots. I always choose to be honest, but with empathy, and to not be brutal, because the environment I'm in is brutal enough. Make so many mistakes and learn from them, but I'm really willing to make mistakes all the time, to try crazy stuff on the pitch, off the pitch. Some of it works amazingly, you can carry on. Some of it's like, well, I'm never trying that again. But I'm always willing to do it and to try and learn from it. And then, like in any leader, I think you have to just be yourself. Just be yourself. I think authenticity is so powerful. The one thing I think when I talk to the people who do the high performance podcast, like the one thing that I would value in someone more than anything is authenticity, and standing up for what you believe in, and being you at all times and not relenting from that. I think is the one thing I've learned. I've tried to, and people talk about influencing key stakeholders and all this stuff. Of course, there's a bit of that, but at times I've gone too far and gone, okay, yeah, that's without being really authentic. And then the last year at Swansea's really authentic with the players, with the owners, and it's led to me being here, and I'm carrying on that path. So we had a recruitment meeting yesterday. We've got another one after this. Some awkward moments, because I give my opinion, and I have to be strong with that and have conviction in that, because ultimately I'm the guy that's going to lose my job if we don't recruit the right people. And they want to go for talent first. I want to go for character first, always. So you can be the most talented person, but if the character's not quite there, and I speak to a few people, find out, listen, he can be lazy, he's a bit deceitful, he's a bit two-faced. Like, come on, let's get the player who's not quite as good, still really talented, but much better character. We'll get more out of him over the long run. And then, like, the quote I would leave with is, people forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. So, like, talking about my PE teachers then, I can't remember one real given moment, but I remember how he made me feel and how I feel about him. And I hope it's the same for me. I still speak to players from MK now. They ring me, they want to come in and watch training, and they ask my opinion. And I hope it's because how I made them feel, how we made them feel when they were with us, I think is the most important bit. So even in a school environment, I can't remember what my history teacher taught me, Miss Mulholland, but what an amazing person, incredible person. I bumped into her in the park a few weeks ago. We had an amazing chat, went for a coffee. I told her the impact she had on me. It was a beautiful conversation, and she's still teaching. She's amazing. And she's getting on a bit now, bless her, but incredible woman. And so, yeah, I think we have an opportunity to make people feel really something different and to be different. And I know Matt's embarking on something different in the way he's doing things. And I've got amazing appreciation for how tough that can be. So hopefully I haven't bored you too much. I will get off the slide now and stop presenting. And I'm done.
Russ, thank you. I've just sat here and written an essay, basically.
I told you I talk too much. Sorry.
Yeah, well, listen, we've had many conversations, and there are always crossovers. I'm going to invite colleagues to come up to ask questions if you'd like to, but I'm going to ask you one straight up, if that's okay, Russ. You talk a lot about vulnerability and courage. It's refreshing, but it's also really unusual in the football industry. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, completely. Yeah. I've had arguments with managers about it.
Yeah,
like older managers.
But why does that happen then, do you think?
Fear, I think. Fear most of the time in our job. So fear of like losing your job. The whole thing, like I'm most of us are driven through fear in some way, but some people won't accept it as that. So like my fear is not being able to influence the game enough for people to start actually thinking you can treat people properly and win and be successful. So my fear is driven through not having enough time or opportunity to be able to do that. And then my fear as a player was always I wasn't good enough. And my fear was always I wasn't enough to be where I was. So like a bit of imposter syndrome that drove me completely. But I had a real awareness of that. I didn't deny it and I didn't pretend. And like hear people saying all the time, "Oh, no, I've got no fear," or say to the players, "You've got to be fearless." But to step over the line in 30,000 people, to have no fear, you've got to be a bit of a psychopath, really, or a sociopath to have no fear at that point. Do you know what I mean? So like, I look at these lads and I go, so I embrace that with them. So before the game against Bristol City on Wednesday, we made a big mistake against Huddersfield. We were 1-0 up, 87th minute. It got too easy for the guys. So at Swansea, I had to take the pressure off the players all the time because they were young. They hadn't been there. These guys have been in the Premier League. They have immense confidence in themselves. So it can be the best attribute they've got, but it can also be a weakness because when they're playing and dominating so much, they can take it easy. And they did, and we drew 1-1. So I went crazy after the game because I said, so then on Wednesday, I said, like, lads, there's big pressure. We're at home. The question marks over us are like the group is too easy. It's nice. When it's easy, they take the foot off the gas. I said, but the pressure's on me because I'm the guy that's going to lose my job. And I hope that it won't ever come to that and it'll be an amazing journey together. But the pressure is on you as well to win because you've got 30,000 people turning up tonight expecting you to win, expecting a reaction from Saturday. We are chasing two teams who have made the best start in the Championship. We need to catch them. There is pressure all the time. Let's not pretend there is. And my assistant manager walked out after. He was like, just put it on them there. I said, yeah, I have. Because I think like there's no point in pretending anymore. We haven't done it yet. And in games where we should win, we've ended up letting teams back in because the guys feel like, oh, this is good. I'm enjoying it. But no, recognise there's big pressure. And we won 1-0 and then we won 2-0 on Saturday, and the best two performances we've had. I'm not saying it's down to me, but we've accepted the pressure and we will talk about it now moving forward the whole time. So like that's vulnerability. Lads, you need to step over the white line and take big pressure because I'm asking you to be so brave in the way that you play. That requires a level of vulnerability. But guess what? When it doesn't go right or it goes wrong, I'm going to take responsibility, not you. If it goes badly because you haven't shown courage, then that's on you. And we'll discuss that after. But if you carry on showing the courage and trying, then it's always on me if we make a mistake. I haven't coached you well enough. So like I've cried in front of the players. We had a bad run at Swansea last year. It was my fault. Like my nan was really ill. The owners were really getting to me, the lies they were telling. And so I went angry for 3 or 4 weeks and it affected the team so badly. And I said, listen, lads, I'm really sorry. I apologise. You have to understand where this comes from. It's out of care for you. It's out of wanting to do so well. I couldn't help it. I welled up. And then after I said a bit about my background as a kid, and I've done an interview on it recently about what drives me. And the amount of lads that come up to me in the office after and said, I've been through that, gaffer. Like, thanks so much for being honest about it. And the amount of people I've had cry in my office as a manager, I would have never, as a player, I would have never dared to cry in any of my managers' offices ever, because I know they would have seen it as a complete weakness. And the amount of players that have been in my office emotional, in tears, we've had a hug, I take that as a huge privilege, and I'm grateful for that, because they feel they can do that. And I think it's because I'm able to show them a bit of vulnerability, if that makes sense.
Wow, thank you. That's really powerful. Thank you. Anyone want to be brave? If you come forward, because the mic will pick you up about here.
Yeah.
So yeah, come on. Well done for jumping up. Good man.
Hi Russell, it's been really nice listening to you talk, and your values of leadership kind of align with mine really. It's kind of like a bit of fresh air in the teaching industry. So I just wanted to ask you, you talk a lot about authenticity and presence and caring about the people that you work with, but how do you keep a positive outlook when things are not going too well? You had a spell at the beginning where you lost 4 games on the bounce. So how did you keep that positive outlook?
I think it's only a test of like your belief, really. So when you're having a tough time, if you really believe in something, it's really easy to stay on the right path. So like, I always talk about it to the lads, there are going to be real bumps in the road. So we're on this journey, there's going to be huge bumps. We lose a game, you lose 2, it gets a bit bigger, but we're never going to go too far away from, because if we do, then I don't really believe in it. So when I worked with leaders who said at the start of the season, this is how we're going to be, this is what we're going to do, then you lose one game and you lose a little bit of it, there's less conviction, and then you lose again, and all of a sudden you are so far away from where you started, you're never ever going to get that back. So for us, it was about, guys, this is why we believe, after analysing it, we are not winning. And this is, what do you feel on the pitch? This is what we need to work on. This will help us get us to where we want to get to. So it's reminding people all the time, this is what we agreed on at the start. This is where we want to go. We're having a tough moment, but nothing's changed. We agreed on this at the start, and this is where we're trying to go. We're going to try and be better, but we didn't treat people any differently. So like at MK, there was not one person I fell out with. At Swansea, there was 2. So it's not always going to be like fluffy and nice. And those 2 people left because they were dishonest. And when we had a tough moment, they start whispering, they start, well, listen, and it's like, no, I've treated you really, really well. And now you've gone against it, and not against me, but the way you've behaved is not good. It's not genuine. So they left. And so it can't always be like nice and fluffy. It needs to be really honest. But like, what's the end goal? Where are we trying to get to? What's stopping us getting there? Okay, and what will help us get there? So then it's really easy when you're logical about it. And in a job, in a business world, you get a bit longer. You maybe get a quarter, 6 months. You're judged at the end of the year. For us, you might have a game again 3 days later. So prioritizing what's hurt us the most in this game. What have we done really well that we can continue doing, but what do we need to do better? Is like logic. That's why we stick to the process. We'll analyze, we'll learn, and then we'll practice relentlessly properly with the boys to try and improve. And that's how we got out that period. This is why we're in a good moment now. And there will be another bump in the road. I said this to the guys at some point, but we will be prepared for it, because in football, my feeling is, probably in life, the same with my kids, like how you deal with tough moments, how you respond to them will define where you end up, I think, in football, because you have more lows than you have highs. Injuries, out the team, pressure from people around you, lose a game, all the criticism. Like, don't just have the good moments as relief. Enjoy them as well, and build on them. And don't get carried away. The process is going to be the same. If we lose 4, if we win 11. So at halftime on Saturday, we're 10 unbeaten, we're 2-0 up. I went crazy at the lads because I saw 2 things I didn't like one bit. And they probably think I'm a lunatic. But I said, we've been in this position before. And the minute you stop looking after each other with the ball and you stop running for each other, and they've done it twice, I said, you're going to be in trouble in the second half. So is your decision how you want to behave. And they're amazing in the end. But it's like always having conviction in what you're doing and staying on track, but being able to bend and flex, and also collaboration. So like when we're going through the tough moment, have so many opinions. Let's go through it. Okay, like we all agree on this. We don't agree on this, but why do you think that? With the coaching staff. And as I said, there were some wobbles, like real wobbles, with people that worked with me for 4 years. Like, maybe we do need to compromise on that. And why? Do we believe in it? Yeah, we do. But the players, I said, no, we need to convince them to do it. And maybe tweak the personnel a little bit, tweak the shape a little bit to help them do it. And then the boys have taken off since then. So consistency, I think, and clarity in what you're doing is so important.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Cheers, Russell.
Thank you for asking.
Anyone else with a question? Yeah, you can both come forward and then be ready.
Good jumper.
That's the cracker, innit?
Yeah, love it. Love it.
So yeah, you mentioned a lot about sort of establishing a culture where you'll speak to sort of everybody the same way. You mentioned about like you go and speak to the chefs and the sort of cleaning staff, and you'll just like seem really down to earth. And I think that's really important. Myself, I started off in schools as a cleaner, and I've been labelled like years ago, like, oh, it's just the cleaners, and I've had people walk past me, and I know that frustration, and I've always made a big effort in my teaching career to just speak to everyone. I speak to the people in the room. We've got the big wigs in today, and I chat to them exactly the same way I do to sort of our cleaning staff at school. And I don't really see that hierarchy when you're trying to build sort of that culture. So when you see that in other people, because you know you do see people sort of buy into that hierarchy thing, and the people who are at the bottom, and I put that in inverted commas because that's not the way I feel about it. Do you challenge that directly, or do you just sort of try and lead through example and establish that culture and more people buy into it?
No, I challenge it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So why don't you know their name? Like the other day, they went, the guy in the kitchen. I said, you've been here a year. Yeah. I said, why don't you know his name?
Yeah.
I said, I've been here 4 months. I know his name.
Yeah.
Like, he's a brilliant guy. He does everything he possibly can for you. So go and have a chat with him, find out his name and come and tell me. So he did, because I think you need to. Like when I was there, I got to Southampton, I was told, by the way, that's the manager's table. I was sitting there and, oh, that's the management table. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, that's the manager, the director of football, the secretary, the head of medical. They all have lunch together, and everyone waits until the manager's ready to sit down. I said, no, not a chance. We're doing that. I said, if there's players sitting there and I'm on my own, I'm sitting with them. If the staff, we'll sit wherever we want. I said, everyone can sit. We're all together. Like the players now will have breakfast and lunch with the staff. They'll talk. My uncle comes to pick me up the other day because he had my car, and the one thing the woman on reception said, oh, it's brilliant, he knows my name. So they had a manager here for 4 years who didn't know anyone by name. He used to call the kit man the kit boy and ask him for a coffee and stuff like that, which for me is madness, because then after 4 years somewhere, people have no real warmth for you, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like so, and it's also short term. If you want to lead in a long term and in a way that's like sustainable and you can keep building, then everyone needs to feel part of it. They need to belong. So like I said in the summer when I was at Norwich as a player as well, why are the staff not on the bonus system? Because they come away with us, they travel. Well, I've just never done it. So we did. So we got promoted that year, and some of the staff ended up with a huge amount of money, some up to like 40% of their salary, life-changing for them, some of them. And the club didn't want to do it, but the minute I left, they stopped it. So, but like the staff that are still there, I still speak to, they still mention that. And the same here. So now we have a bonus system that's based around a set piece thing, and all the staff are on it, from the cleaner to the star striker, a certain percent of their wages, and like reminding the lads of that, because they slacked off a bit in the set pieces recently. So on Friday, I said to them, listen, this is really important, because can be 5% of their wage before Christmas. You score one more goal from a set piece, Bill in the kitchen has 5% of his annual wage coming in his Christmas pay packet. You concede one, no one gets anything. So it might not matter to you, because you guys are earning exponential amount. Beautiful for you, brilliant, I'm happy for you, but at the same time appreciate and recognise the difference this can make. And on the Saturday there were beasts in the set piece. We should have scored 2 goals. We didn't quite, but I'm pretty sure now we'll score a goal, because it's my job to keep reminding them of that, if that makes sense. So it's not a big task to know someone's name, to know their role, and to say good morning, I don't think, even if you're the grumpiest person in the world. And I can tell you're not, because the jumper you've got on, so you definitely say good morning. But I genuinely think it's really important. Hierarchy for me, job titles, it doesn't really matter. And I've seen people like talk to people in a certain way, and then when they talk to the owners, it's like all this jargon comes out. We'll have a round table discussion. I'm thinking, hold on a minute, never heard you chat like that before. So then I challenge them as well. So when we get out the room, not directly in front of the owners, I go, well, you put on your phone voice there. I try and make a joke. What?
Yeah.
I said, the way you spoke to the owner, I've never heard you speak like that. I said, what's that about? Oh, well, it's the owners. I said, no, don't do that again. It's uncomfortable, because when me and you talk, it's not like that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't like that when you put different hats on for different people. I don't like it one bit.
Thank you very much. Cheers for that, mate.
No worries.
Thanks.
Hi. Sorry, I think Tim's sort of said most of it. I was going to ask there about the culture. I'm a Norwich City supporter, by the way, so I've been to Harrow a few times. The kids always ask at school, who do you support? And sometimes we're embarrassing to say Norwich. But no, I was going to say about the culture as well. You talk about a lot of culture, and everybody has really spoke about culture. How do you get, if somebody's in your team, whether in the management team or in the players in the change room, if they come in, how do you get them, if they're not on your side, how do you get that buy-in to your culture?
Well, I just ask them why they're feeling how they're feeling. So, like, I don't say the word culture to the players. I would just say like how we behave and how we are, and how you do something is how you do everything. We talk about that all the time to the young guys as well. So whenever I've had someone who's a bit resistant, and it's been the smaller group usually, it's really hard for them to infiltrate the rest, because when you treat them properly, it's really difficult for them to treat you poorly, if that makes sense. Because even if you're a bad, terrible person, it feels a bit uncomfortable for them to treat you that way. So when there's been a bit of resistance, I just ask them why. One-to-one, I say, like, I think there's a bit of an issue here and I just want to understand why, so if I can improve it or not. And sometimes it'll be they had loyalty to the previous manager, they really believed in them, it's a different way of working. So like the analyst here, the first few days, I thought, wow, this is going to be interesting, because he was so invested in the previous regime. He felt his nose was out of joint. He had no real, because I brought an analyst with me. So I said, mate, you're going to be involved in everything. Come in. We want to work with you. Come into every meeting, and then let's see how we go. And he's been brilliant since then. So I think just direct conversation and understanding where the resistance comes from, and if you can improve that. And sometimes maybe you can't. If you can't, I think even if they leave or whatever, in the end, and I always say that to the players, whether you've played 100 games for me, one, not at all, we can look each other in the eye at the end and shake hands and say, I gave you everything, you gave me everything, and then that's fine. If I can do that and they can't, that's on them. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
No worries.
We're breaking up a little bit, but I don't know what's going on with the internet here. Any questions? Go for it. Mark, you can end with a question. Going on. Okay. He's a Watford fan at the back there, so he's.
See you Saturday.
I was on the head of science, and I was just thinking it's so interesting what you're saying about how many analogies there are between sport. My real question was, what do you do to build players back up if they've things going on in their life? You said win, draw, lose at the start of the week. You wouldn't know the difference. For us, a bad game would be like a teacher having a bad observation. What would you do to build your team back up?
Show them. So even when you're in a bad period, there'll be some good stuff they're doing. So to highlight the good stuff, evidence the good behaviours, even in a bad result. So like when someone runs back 50 yards to try and make a tackle or fill in for their teammate, like evidence that and say, this is going to be really important for us moving forward. All the stuff that maybe people don't focus on or see, and take responsibility for them a lot. So I think like this is the good stuff. Carry on doing this, it will pay off. This bit is on me. I'll try and help you with this, and we'll help each other. But evidence the stuff where people have done things that over a long period of time will be really beneficial for them and for you. Positive evidence is really important, I think, regardless. And just to keep reminding them of the journey we're on, and that we're all in it together, and we'll get through it together. Just being honest with them always, I think, has been really, really important. And then practice properly what they need to practice to really improve and help them, whether it's individually in their unit or in the team practice. Like spend a lot of time with them to make it right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Russell. I think for some reason the internet's going really dodgy. The connection's not great, Russ. We'll leave it there. We'll just post some questions. Russ, I know you're a really busy man, so really, really appreciate and taking time out of your day to do this for us. Can we just give Russ one more round of applause?
No problem.
Thank you,
mate.
and good luck.
No.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Speak to you soon, Matt. See you, mate.
Cheers. Yeah, speak to you soon.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye. Bye. Bye.